So next is the derm. So the dermis contain the dermis connect with the epidermis via the interdigitation between the retinal ridges, which is a downward epidermal projections, and also dermal papillae, and upward dermal projections. So this interdigitation is responsible for the ridges and seen most readily on our fingertips, or in other words, it makes up our unique fingerprints. And these ridges also enhance our gripping ability. Next. So there are three components of the dermis, which are the cells, the fiber, and also the amorphous ground substances. Next. So the main cellular element of the dermis are fibroblasts, mast cells, and also the macrophage. So the fibroblasts synthesize the connective tissue matrix of the dermis, such as the collagen, reticulin fiber, and also the elastin fiber. And the mast cells is specialized secretory cells. So these mast cells contain granules which store mediators such as the histamine, prostaglandin, leukotriene, and also a chemotaxis factor for the eosinophils and neutrophils. And lastly is the macrophage, which is a phagocytic cells. These cells act as a scavengers of cell debris and also extracellular materials. So next. So beside from the cells I explained earlier, there are also small numbers of resident transitory cells such as the lymphocyte for immune surveillance, Langerhans cells and dermodendritic cells for antigen presentation, and also the Merkel cells, which act as a transducer for fine touch. Next. So next component is the fiber of the dermis. So this fiber gives the dermis its strength and elasticity. So this fiber is largely made up of interwoven fiber, mostly collagen, but with some elastins. And the collagen makes up almost 70 to 80% of the dry weight of the dermis. And the collagen have high tensile strength, and this tensile strength prevents the dermis from tearing. The elastic, as well as being strong, the dermis is also very stretchy and elastic, which are due to the elastic fiber, which permits stretching and later return it to the unstretched state. So next component is the amorphous ground substances. So the fiber that I mentioned earlier leave the dermis with spaces, and these spaces are filled with the amorphous ground substances. So the amorphous ground substances consist largely of two glycosaminoglycans, mostly hyaluronic acid and dermatan sulfates, which are complex core protein and exist as proteoglycans. So the ground substances have several important functions, which is it binds water and allowing nutrient, hormones, and waste product to pass through the dermis. And when it binds water also, it gives the dermis its body or more like blown up structure, which we call skin turgor that we often check in general examinations. And the next important function is that it acts as a lubricant between the collagen and also the elastin fiber network during the skin movements. And it also provides bulk, allowing the dermis to act as a shock absorber. Next. So contradict to the epidermis, which is avascular, the dermis is highly vascular, in which it helps in supply in nutrients and also for thermoregulations. And the blood vessel of the skin lie in two main horizontal layers, which is the deep plexus and also the superficial plexus. As you can see in the picture, the one that I labeled with the red circle. And first, the deep plexus, or also known as the cutaneous plexus, is just situated just above the subcutaneous fat, and it supplies the sweat gland and also the hair papillae. And next is the superficial plexus, which can be found in the papillary dermis. And The capillary loop in the dermal papillae arise from this superficial plexus, and from this loop, the avascular epidermis gets its blood supply, majority at the stratum basale. So, as the cell of the epidermis begins to divide and move up, it will loses its blood supply because the epidermis is avascular. So next. So this is just the picture. You can see the loops that extend from the superficial plexus. Next. So next is this cutaneous lymphatic systems. So the cutaneous lymphatic, the efferent lymphatic begin as a blind-ended capillaries in the dermal papillae, and the lymph from this pass to the superficial lymphatic plexus in the papillary dermis, which can be found at the near the superior vascular plexus. And from this superior plexus, it drains vertically into the deep lymphatic plexus. The collecting lymphatic from the deeper one run with the veins in the superficial fascia, but the lymphatic and the vessel never anastomose. Next. So the next one is the nerves. So the nerve is supplied with an estimated 1 million nerve fiber. Most are free sensory nerve in the dermis. And there are few non-myelinated nerve endings that can penetrate into the epidermis. So there are several nerve types. There is first the free nerve endings, which are responsible to detect heat and also pain, also known as nociceptor. And the next one is the Pacinian and Meissner corpuscle, which register informations of the skin caused by pressure, as well as vibration and touch. And also, lastly, the autonomic nerve supply of the blood vessel, sweat gland, and erector pili muscles. Next. So from this picture, you can see that the one I separate, the Pacinian corpuscle is situated much deeper than Meissner corpuscles. So the Pacinian corpuscles respond to the deep pressure and high frequency vibration, while the Meissner corpuscle detect light touch. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you, sister. That was well done. Any questions from the group? Any doubts or clarification? Not really, huh? Okay, that means your presentation was very, very clear. They don't need to ask anything. Or alternatively, it could mean that they didn't understand it, so they don't know what to ask, isn't it? No, just kidding. Okay, so we hope, inshallah, everybody understood everything. Yes. Okay. Can I just ask you something about the hair follicle? You showed the hair follicle extending into the deep dermis and even possibly down to the subcutaneous tissue, isn't it? Yes. Okay. So what can you tell us something about the hair follicle structure?
Hair follicle structure.
Hmm?
So the hair follicle is one of the epidermal appendages, but it also situated in the dermis and could also present in the hypodermis.
Okay.
And
so what
it's
is it lined by?
lined by I'm not sure about that.
Sister Shahira, you want to comment on that? You did cover it in your part of the presentation, isn't it?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. You want to comment on what the lining of the hair follicle is? What are the cells?